Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of STATURDAY Chat Live. It is so good to see all of you wherever you happen to be. Of course, make sure you drop in the chat where you're watching from, and we'll talk about that as well. So, a lot of things to discuss today. If you're new here, I try to keep the live stream to around 30 minutes to an hour. Depends on how many questions and how many, discussions we have going on and things of that nature. I want to respect your time because I know you have things to do today and I have other things to do today. So we won't sit here and just waste everyone's time. So we keep the chat to around 30 minutes to an hour at the latest, usually. So that is the general lay of things. So tell me where you are watching from, and we'll get this chat going. We'll get this stream going. I'm sorry. Hello, it's good to see you, Sai. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by the chat. So if you watched last live stream, you'll know that I was actually at the University of Iowa, which is in Iowa City, Iowa, in the state of Iowa, that also has the Iowa River going through it. So 2 weeks ago, I was there visiting my former partner, who we remain really close. Had a big show. He's a writer and had a show being performed there. So I went and visited Iowa City, and it's a beautiful place. It's just great. I love college towns and cities and stuff. So I was there 2 weeks ago to support him and his work, and also visit the city, and also have dinner with one of the professors that is an author on the business analytics book that I work on at Cengage. So we had a good visit as well. The weather was beautiful most of the time. So it was good to get away. I had not really gone away anywhere in like 3 years, So it was good to go somewhere else for once and take a week off of my normal 9-to-5 job and just relax a bit. So it was great. The show went off. His show is actually so popular, they added an additional viewing. There was 3, then they added a 4th. So that tells you how good it was doing. So it was a good trip. So I'm back here in Cincinnati, which it snowed. It's 25 degrees and snowy outside, and then tomorrow it's going to be 50 and then 73 by the middle of the next week. So welcome to the Midwest of the USA weather. But we're okay. We're doing fine. Roberta from Victoria, BC. Thank you for stopping by the live stream. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for dropping in. So a few things before we sort of get into the chat. Again, drop where you're watching from. Any comments, questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat, and then I'll go through the chat and kind of put them up on screen as we go, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Always keep in mind that I'm not like a human Wikipedia, so I might not have the answer right away to your question. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll do my best to, respond to those comments on LinkedIn and answer the question offline if we can't really address it here. I'll do the best I can to make sure I answer the questions in real time, but sometimes that's not always possible. So if you haven't already, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So that's where I spend almost all my time. I'm not on social media at all. I deleted it all a couple years ago. One of the best things I ever did. So LinkedIn and YouTube were the 2 places to get a hold of me if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or whatever else it might be. So before we get started into some of the, things related to my channel, I did want to say a few words about something that's very important to me, and hopefully I can get, your support and, really make a difference. Okay. So obviously we have what's going on in Ukraine right now. You can tell that, I am a big supporter of the Ukrainian people, especially innocent children and that are caught up in this mess. So what I want to talk to you about just really quickly for a couple of minutes is, even though I'm a YouTuber, I'm also a YouTube consumer, obviously. And there are a few channels that really have grabbed onto my heart that I watch almost every day. And, once you kind of understand what they are, you'll understand why I am attracted to them, because they're very simple. The channels are very basic and very simple. So one of them, the one I watch pretty much every day, is called What the Math. So Anton Petrov is, put me in here too. So Anton Petrov is one of my favorite YouTubers, if not my favorite YouTuber. And he does videos, as you can see, on a lot of space and science type topics, which is dear to my heart. That's how I fell in love with education was really through science. And I found his channel, and they're very simple. It's just him talking in the corner of the screen, talking about black holes or galaxies or stars, whatever else it might be. Now, if you look at his channel page right now in the middle, you'll see what I'm talking about. Him and his wife, partner, their infant son passed away a few days ago of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. His name was Neil, and he was just a teeny tiny baby, which is awful. Of course, what makes it even worse than it already is that Anton is one of the nicest, kindest, most generous YouTubers and people. I've never met him. I'll never meet him in person or anything like that. But you can tell just through his work and the way he talks and teaches us that he is just supremely kind person. And when these awful events happen to really, really, really kind people, it hurts even more than it already does. So Anton is probably one of my favorite YouTubers. We don't know each other at all or anything like that. So obviously his infant son, Neil, passed away. To honor his infant son, Neil's passing, he is doing a fundraiser that I have also put on my channel, and it's for Save the Children. And that fundraiser goes to helping the children of Ukraine in their humanitarian needs, the humanitarian disaster that's ongoing there. So in his infant son's honor, Neil, he started that fundraiser, and I have also added it to my channel on this video. So if you have a few dollars in honor of Neil and Anton, and of course, one way to help, obviously help those children in the Ukraine, consider giving a few dollars to that fundraiser and helping out those children in Ukraine in young Neil's honor. So that's all I'll say about that. The fundraiser is in the sidebar or whatever it is in this video stream. And of course, even after it's live and it's just on YouTube, as a playback, it's still going to be there. So if you're watching this after the fact, please consider, don't donate to me or anything about this, give to that fundraiser. And also about Anton, he also sells t-shirts. I would encourage you to get one. He starts every video with 3 words: hello, wonderful person. And he has a shirt, hello, wonderful person, that he sells on his channel. And consider maybe buying one of those. It's a cool shirt and it helps his channel and of course his family directly. So that's all I'll say about that. It's not something I do really very often, but I love Anton's channel. I watch it pretty much every day, and it's an awful thing that happened to him and his family. So consider helping out, okay? I would appreciate it, and of course I know they would. Okay. So, we get back here. There I am. All right. So that being said, where am I at on the channel? As you know, I was out on vacation, like I said before, for about 10 days. So obviously I just took that time to relax and just kind of roam around a new city I haven't been to and didn't do really any work or anything. Now that I'm back home and the weather's going to get nicer next week, I'll be getting back into going to the coffee shop and doing some new videos for you. So I have several topics that I'm working on, and I'm going to finish out the variable transformation videos. Then I'm either going to go with design of experiments and or potentially time series. And there's a third topic I was thinking about doing. What was it I was thinking about? I can't, it's off the top of my head, I can't think about it. So I'll be making some more content coming up. I tend to make more content in the warmer months because I tend to leave the house more and go to the coffee shop where I'm most productive. And of course, COVID is sort of winding down, at least here. So that means I can get out and do stuff like that. Okay. Put in the chat where you are watching from and any comments, questions you have, and we'll get this rolling. All right. So will I ever do any linear algebra videos? It's funny you just said that, JN, because that's exactly the third topic I was thinking about doing. I have an affinity to linear algebra and linear optimization and stuff like that. So when I was at Indiana University, I was tutoring a lot of finite math, which of course involves a lot of linear linear algebra and linear optimization. I love linear optimization. Like the solver add-in in Excel is like a magic button. And you can set up your problem in Excel, set up your constraints, your objective function, and changing cells and all that, and then hit a button, and it just solves it. It just optimizes it for min, max, whatever it is. I love, linear algebra. So, JN, I hope to do some of that as of some videos. So yeah, that's one of them I hope to do. What times series topics? So really anything from the very basics of time series, from just naive forecasting all the way up through exponential, all the way up through weighted average, some basic econometrics. We can go into that. The use of regression in time series applications, trend, seasonality, all the sort of basic table stake type stuff. And then more complex, ARIMA, stuff like that. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. Depends on my time. So as you all know, YouTube is not my full-time job. It doesn't pay me enough to even eat, much less do it full-time. So I can only make videos when I have the time, and there are so many topics I want to make videos on. It's just a matter of picking the one I think will benefit the most people at the given moment and going with that. So, all right. So, from hospital bed in Vancouver, Dan. Well, Dan, if you're in the hospital, I hope you get better. If I'm reading that correctly, but really, thank you for coming by the live stream. If that's the case, you didn't have to do that, but Dan, you've always been a regular watcher here, and I hope you get better. We all hope you get better. All right. So thank you for coming by. So, like I said, I'm going to finish up the series I'm doing right now, and then going to get into one of several topics. Of course, you all have given me other topics like structural equation modeling and stuff like that would require just a lot more, involvement and research into setting that up and mapping it out and doing the sort of whiteboarding and stuff that I would usually do for a more complex topic like that. So I hope to get some of that stuff, but we'll just see how it goes. All right. What other questions, comments you have? I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee because it is still noon, and today, of course, my Indiana Hoosiers do play today at 1 p.m. So I'm gonna be sure to watch that. All right. So what is my full-time job? So my 9-to-5 job is I'm a senior learning designer at Cengage Learning. We're a higher education. We do other things too, but half the company is a higher education publishing. Back in the day, we published books, but that's kind of gone the way of the dodo now. We do still make books, but it's primarily digital. So my full-time 9-to-5 job is a senior learning designer at Cengage Learning in 2 disciplines: the decision sciences, which encompasses business statistics, business analytics, supply chain management science, and stuff like that. And then the other discipline that I'm over is finance, so introductory finance, introductory investments, and stuff like that. It's all under the umbrella of business. So, the business school, think of the business school. So I work on the decision sciences and then also the finance disciplines, and that is my 9-to-5 job. So while I am a learning designer, I also do things in product development. I do some product management on the side. I kind of work hand in hand with the product manager in many ways. I do some marketing stuff, sales. I do pretty much everything you can imagine under the sun almost. I do subject matter expert work. I go into our code base and actually fix problems and handle those sorts of things. So I do a lot of things in my 9-to-5 job. And then the YouTube is what I do on the side when I have time. I've been doing it, of course. In May, this will be the 10-year anniversary of the channel. So in May, we'll do something big for the 10-year anniversary of me being on YouTube. So it was 2012 when I started all this. And yeah, so that's my day job. Then I have some other side gigs I do kind of just when I have a few hours here and there. So very busy. All right. Good questions. Got some questions coming in. So when reporting the unexplained variance, do you use R square or adjusted R square? I've seen people just report both. It's good to have both because you can see how the R square decreases between it and the adjusted R square. So of course the adjusted R square accounts for the number of variables in the model. So by having both reported, you can see the change in the two. So if they're close together, then the additional variables didn't really affect the model that much. But if they're far apart, you can see that then the explained variance went down, usually because of some shared correlations and so forth. So report both. There's no harm in reporting both. Now, in certain journals or certain disciplines, it might be standard practice to report one or the other, but I don't see any harm in reporting both. Usually you'll see in a scientific article or whatever else, just a table that has everything in there, like the summary table. So it'll have R squared, adjusted R squared, standard error of the mean. It'll have all that in just a table. So, all right. Good questions. Vainbow, good to see you. Thanks for coming back to the live stream. Good to see you. How do you make the visualizations in your slides to explain stats? I'm messing around with Jupyter notebooks, but it takes quite long. So honestly, almost all the visualizations you see in my videos are done just in PowerPoint. So sometimes I will do something in Excel and then bring it over to PowerPoint. There have been times when I've just used Microsoft Paint, to be quite honest. So I don't do anything complex in terms of the visuals that are in my slides. Almost all of it is just basic PowerPoint, Excel, and then on occasion, I might hop into a graphics program like Paint, or like if I'm using software, I will just do a screenshot of the software output and just put it into the PowerPoint slide. So that is, so that is what I do for the visuals. Sorry about that, lost my mouse button. So 1 minus R squared times 100 is the unexplained. Is this R square or adjusted R square? So neither. The adjusted R square and the R square will usually be pretty close. The adjusted R square just accounts for the number of variables in the regression model. So hopefully I'm understanding that correctly. So the way that works is the sum of squares in the model. So the sum of squares due to regression divided by the total sum of squares is the explained variance, or the R square. And then the adjustment happens when you do the adjusted R square for the number of variables in the model. So I'm hoping I'm understanding your little equation here correctly. I apologize if I'm not. How are you? I am good. Thank you. Yes, that is a long time. 10 years on YouTube is a long time. All right. Maybe a tough question, but when is MC not needed in Bayesian analysis? That's something I cannot really answer for a couple of reasons on the live stream. I admit to not doing a whole lot of Bayesian statistics. Like I grew up, like many people, in the frequentist camp. But I'm looking to get more into that. I know the basics, I know Bayes' theorem, of course, through finite math and other probability topics, but I will have to look into that. So JN, not something I can unfortunately answer on the live stream, but I will look into that. All right. Okay, that is for multiple linear regression. Yeah, so I've been enjoying your videos on this topic. Thank you very much for that very kind comment. I appreciate that. Yeah, just when looking at the explained variance, think of it in terms of the sum of squares. So everything is derived from the sum of squares. So the total sum of squares will always be the same for that given data set and number of variables. Okay, it's like a fixed quantity when we're just doing like simple linear regression or multiple regression. That is a fixed quantity. The difference is how we partition it. How much of the sum of squares comes from the explained variance from the model, which I call SSR, or sum of squares due to regression, versus the sum of squares due to error, or SSE. So we are always partitioning the total sum of squares either into the model or into error. Now, within those two camps, the model or the error, the regression or the error, there can also be further splits in explaining the sum of squares. So everything like partial correlation can be explained in the sum of squares, but I've done videos on that. So always think when you're looking at the output table for a regression, always look at how the total sum of squares, sorry, that's probably loud on your end, hit my microphone. The total sum of squares is allocated or partitioned into the model and error, and then sometimes within the model itself, it's partitioned further into other variables. So a lot of the variable selection techniques, so when you get into like forward and backward stepwise and best subsets regression and stuff like that, is all about fundamentally underneath the partitioning of the total sum of squares. So if we put in a variable and then put in another variable, like a second variable, but the sum of squares in the regression hasn't changed a whole lot, then that second variable isn't really contributing anything. So always pay attention to the sum of squares, how it is partitioned in the full model, okay? All right, so, yep, that's right. What do we mean by unexplained variance? So that's kind of related to what I was saying before. So without getting too into the weeds on a live stream, I have many videos on this. So obviously go back and watch the regression videos, the multiple regression videos. I do some videos on the variable selection techniques and partial correlations. That's the best place to sort of get all this information. But basically, the unexplained variance is how we decompose the distance of the model to a data point. So some of that's left over. It's really hard to talk about this on a live stream based on numerous videos I've done. But it's basically how the sum of squares is decomposed and how it explains the regression model versus what's left. So go back and watch the videos I did on linear regression, where I use a lot of visuals to explain this, where you can kind of see where the error is left from each data point. And the concept of unexplained variance will be more intuitive visually than me sitting here trying to explain it with words. That's why I use a lot of visuals, because explaining these things with words is sometimes hard. If you can see it, then that is what we're trying to do. So, all right. Okay. Going back here. Why is the gas prices so high now? Complex topic. But obviously the war in the invasion of Ukraine and the sanctions play some part, but that's not really all of it. There's just really a supply chain crunch right now, still an echo of COVID. So it's several things. The production of petroleum is in part controlled by OPEC, and there's a lot of stuff going in there. So it's a very complex topic as to why gas prices are so high, depending on where you are. But it's not one individual thing. It's sort of a combination of things compounding on each other, as far as I understand it. When are we getting statistics meme review? Reddit and Facebook have some hilarious and educational pages, kind of like Andrew Dotson did for physics memes. Those tend to go viral. So, Vainbow, I can look into doing something like that. But to be quite honest with you, is that I try to keep things focused and simple on my content and the educational type stuff. And I know memes can be educational and so forth, but I resist turning YouTube and LinkedIn into Facebook. So unfortunately, LinkedIn is becoming almost insufferable as Facebook was when I left it. So I try not to get too much into the memes and in the statistics content, but who knows, we might do that. All right. Okay, cycling through some of the questions here. So Elijah asks, Elijah, thank you for coming by. I'm working with a large data set of substance use recovery. I want to study a multiple response question across a period of 6 months. Is there a better way to calculate this apart from crosstab? Well, if you're doing some sort of longitudinal study across time, there are several ways to skin that cat, as you might say, and it really just depends on the questions you're trying to ask about any changes sort of over time. You could look at, you could do what you're saying with crosstabs. You could look at time series techniques. You could look at design of experiments techniques. So there are many ways to look at that. And sometimes, going through all of them and just seeing what each technique tells you could be a way to approach it and just see if they sort of are in concert with each other in terms of the question you are asking. But always, the question comes first. Then we go look for a technique that helps us solve that question. So, Elijah, if you want, like I said before, you can contact me on LinkedIn. If I have time, I can expand a bit further depending on, what sort of questions you were asking about that data. If I can learn more, maybe a little bit about the study, about, kind of how the responses were provided, then I can maybe chime in a bit better on this question. But there, as with anything, there's often more than one way, more than a couple ways to look at a given study, depending on what question or your goals are. Okay, so there are ways. Better is in the eye of the beholder sometimes, but depending on the question you're trying to ask, that's what should inform the technique you're trying to employ. All right, can I do a video on important questions for data analyst interview? Pramit, probably not, and I'll tell you why. The best place to get that information is actually on LinkedIn, or certain websites actually have tons and tons and tons of content related to this. I do not interview data analysts in my job. I am part of interviews for other positions at my company, but not a data analyst. So unfortunately, I'm not maybe the best person to do that. What I can say is when looking at a data analyst interview, always look at the job description, because you're going to see what they're probably going to ask you if you have any sort of competency test you have to do, or coding test, of course, technical questions, whatever else it might be. So in the statistics front, depending on the job, I would just go in and be prepared to answer basic questions about, the basics of different techniques, different algorithms, potentially, how to interpret them, and more importantly, what sort of recommendations you might make based off the output of that technique, and so on and so forth. It's all about how you add value to that company. Why are they hiring you? What do you hope to give them? How do you hope to justify the salary they are going to pay you? So it's really going in and being a contributing member of the team and of the company based on the role. So in the statistics type front, I would just go in, be able to explain general sort of concepts and then go from there. But it's really hard for me to know, obviously, what each individual company might want, or, what each individual job description might be sort of asking for. But LinkedIn, there are other YouTube channels, and then there are websites that do this sort of thing. So some of you might be familiar with Carol Eremenko. I think I'm saying that right. Carol, Kirill, has some great sort of content on like interviewing for, data analyst roles, data science type roles, and so on and so forth. If I can find it, I will show you. I will pull this up. Perfect. So this is great. I'm going to pull this up right here for you. So this is one thing I would definitely look into. So Carol Eremenko is who I was mentioning. So this video here, I will put it in the chat for you, is a great place you can start. So Carol has an entire website, an entire service that can help individuals who are looking for data science careers. There's a newsletter that's incredible you can sign up to and get like regular tips and everything, not only on interviewing, but also just data science topics. So I would, go and look at his content in addition to others. Of course, on YouTube, you can just go on a YouTube rabbit hole and you can watch stuff of his. You can watch stuff of other individuals. That's the best place, I think, to get, some questions and take some notes on these sorts of topics. So, all right. All right. So, yeah, check this out. I put the link in the YouTube chat. If you're looking for some, and this is a little bit old, but I think it's just fine. You can look at other stuff too. So let's see if I go, yeah. So if you just look up Carol's name here, we go back to that. You will find all kinds of stuff. He is also on LinkedIn, of course. So there's his name. I would definitely just sort of check that out. Okay. All right. Back to me here. Good questions. Great live stream today. You all are awesome. Okay. So find your videos very interesting, easy to understand. Excellent. That's why I do them and make a video on PCA. So things like PCA and factor analysis and stuff are definitely things I do want to make videos about. Those are specific topics I think I can explain in a way that a lot of people understand. It's just a matter of time. So I do think I will do that at some point, but at some point could be, I don't know, it's like, what, a month, 6 months? I have no idea. No idea. Okay. If you're just coming to the chat, I do want to reiterate what I did at the top of the chat. If you haven't sort of heard already, one of my favorite YouTubers, so I watch pretty much every day, him and his partner, his wife, I'm pretty sure, lost their infant son to SIDS a few days ago. And it's one of my favorite YouTube channels. And he is running a fundraiser on a lot of his videos recently, and I added it to this video in honor of his infant son who passed away. We are trying to raise some funds for the children of Ukraine, and that goes to the Save the Children cause. So, one, subscribe to his channel if you like science, especially like space science. I usually watch his videos like right before I go to bed, because I find him very calming. And I learned something, and it makes me dream about space. It's really bizarre, I know. But, yeah, so if you have a few dollars, give it to the fundraiser. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but it goes not towards me. It doesn't go towards even Anton. It goes towards the children in Ukraine. So I just wanted to reiterate that if you came in late. All right, so back to some of the questions and chats. Let's see here. Saravin, thank you for your question. Is there an easy way to add a binary question to a regression model? For example, uses alcohol, does not use alcohol. Or have you done a video on this? So yes and yes. Luckily, this is a very straightforward question to answer. So all types of linear regression, whether it's just good old-fashioned linear regression, multiple regression, or even logistic regression, as an independent variable can accept a binary independent variable. So all you have to do in this situation is create a variable and set it to either 1 or 0. So in this example, you could just have a variable called uses alcohol. And if the respondent uses alcohol, you put a 1 in that column. If they do not, you put a 0 in that column. And regression can handle that. And you interpret the output just like you would any other continuous variable. So yeah, that's one of the easier ones to answer. I think you have another question. make sure I'm actually answering that correctly. So you said here, I know the rates. One is 5% non-drinker and the other is 23% drinker. I'm not sure what you're referring to here, but in this situation, from your first question, in any sort of regression, you can add a binary variable of 0 or 1, or sometimes we call it an indicator variable. And this is often what we do with categorical variables, whether we do it explicitly or the software does it for us. So if we have like an example, and I have made videos on this type of thing in the regression playlists. So, for example, if we're doing something, I think I did one video like this, where you have a variable that's a category. Let's say there's 4 categories. Let's say geography, north, south, east, or west. So what regression has to do, either explicitly, you can do this in Excel, or it does it under the hood for you, is it creates a set of indicator variables. Like, and it's always n-1 indicator variable. So in this case, the 4 directions, north, south, east, west, would have 3 variables. Like west would be 1 if it's west and then 0 otherwise. East would be 1 if it's east, 0 otherwise. And let's say north. If it's north, it'll be 1 or 0 otherwise. And then if it's south, the one that's missing, that's when all 3 of them are 0. That's how we designate indicator variables. So this sort of thing happens all the time in regression or in other machine learning type models or anything like that. So yeah, this is pretty easy to do. Indicator variables are very standard in all types of regression, whether it's simple regression, multiple regression, or logistic regression. And of course, in logistic regression, the dependent variable is the binary one, 0 or 1. All right. Okay. What's the playlist on time series? As I mentioned, I hope to do something along those lines for time series at some point. It just depends on my time, no pun intended. So yeah, I would love to do an entire series or several playlists on time series, because I find time series very interesting. And excuse me, time series obviously overlaps with regression at a certain point. So I have a natural affinity towards regression, obviously, and you can overlap time series concepts with regression concepts and kind of put them together. So I hope that's the case. All right. Thanks, Brandon. You are the best. I'm not sure about that, but thank you for your comment, Elijah. People like you are the best, who are out there doing the research, doing the work, answering these questions and looking into things that, science and research helps us better understand the world we live in, helps us understand the human condition, and it hopefully moves the ball forward. Although lately it seems like that's harder to do. But the real heroes of the world are people like you, Elijah, who are out there doing the work. So thank you for that. All right. Pramit, thank you so much. You are very, very welcome. Very welcome. So yeah, I'm going to put my own comment up. So if you have questions about data science careers, data science interviews, and things of that nature, this is who you should look up on LinkedIn. You should look up on YouTube. He has his own website and service and newsletter he sends out to people that's very, very helpful. That's who you should talk to. Now, of course, or look into. Now, of course, there are many others, but this is, I came across Carol's work actually on Udemy, I think. So he probably, I'm not sure, might have a course on Udemy that actually talks about data science topics. So let me see something here. Let's see what we got here. Put this back up. I'm doing this stream here. So if you go to Udemy and you type in Carol's name, you will see tons and tons and tons of courses: machine learning, data science, exercises, R, so on and so forth. So here, you have intro to data science. You could look into something like that. I'm trying to think if he has. Here you go. Careers in data science, right here. This is what I would look into. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. There we go. So if you go to Udemy and find this course right here, Careers in Data Science, all his stuff is amazing. Depending on where you are in the world, so I'm obviously here in the US, spending $15 on something that might improve my career is a pretty damn good investment, right? So look at this course, see if you like it and try that. So, and again, he's not the only person, but he's the individual I came across, I think originally on Udemy and then, through LinkedIn and stuff like that. So again, he's another person that doesn't know who the hell I am, but I do like his work and have used his work in the past in my own learning. So that is something to consider. All right. Alrighty, let's go back here. Fantastic. This is going by really, really fast. Hello, Yogendra. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Hello, it's good to see you. Balaji, hello, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming by the live stream. It's very, very nice to have you here. Any advice to someone to be better at teaching statistics? Because you do a fantastic job explaining stats concepts. So the best way to teach statistics or anything else is to first become an avid learner of it. So for me, when I go to sit down and make a video, Balaji, is that what I do is I think, okay, how would I teach myself this if I didn't know anything? How would I teach this to a 10-year-old? Or how would I teach this to someone who hasn't had a whole lot of stats or math background? And then I take it into my head, I break it apart into pieces. I add pieces where I think there needs to be new things, and then I assemble it all together. So in some ways, what I'm doing is I'm reteaching myself as I make the content for you. And I really try to think in the mindset of that learner. What do they know already? What do they not know? What sort of things, what sort of experiences have they may or may not have had? How does it relate to something they might already know? Also, how can I make this visual? How can I create, something for them to download and follow along or whatever else? So I really try to be a learner first, then I go in and do the teaching. I'm always a learner first and a teacher second. So Balaji, if you are preparing, something for, doing some teaching or tutoring or whatever else it might be that you're doing, think how you would want to learn it and think about the end learner and what they may or may not already know. And it's better always to err on the side of giving them something they might already know and be redundant than leaving something out they don't know and they get lost. So always err on the side of providing maybe a bit too much background information because you never know who's watching or who isn't watching. I'll give you a perfect example before I move on from this question because it is a good one. So sometimes the negative comments I might get on my YouTube videos is that I sometimes either repeat a concept in the same video or my videos overlap slightly. So if there's a playlist of videos, video 2 and 3 might overlap a little bit in the middle. Now, the reason I do that is because I have no idea if the person watching video 3 watched video 2. I have no idea. So I do a little bit of overlap for two reasons. One, I don't know who watched the second video, but also a pedagogical and learning technique is that we have to spiral back on stuff we've learned. We have to come back to it. That little bit of reinforcement, that little bit of contextualization, we have to come back to it every now and then. So all the best teachers do this. They will always, when they go to a new topic, they will always tie it to what came before. And that sets the stage to move forward in that learner's sort of mind. So that's another technique that you can do if you're teaching not only statistics or really anything, for that matter. All right. But thank you for your comment. It's very kind of you. All right. We are doing great. Oh, you're very welcome, Saravin. I'm very glad that I could have been of some help to you. That's why I do it. I do it to help you all. I don't do it for the fame or the glory, definitely not the money. I do it to help. So I'm glad that it helped you out. Vedang, hi. Good to see you. See, Yogendra, hope I'm saying these names right. Again, if I pronounce your name wrong, I do apologize. I do my very best to pronounce everyone's name the best I can, read them. But of course, I am, in the United States, so I'm not familiar with all the pronunciations. So I do apologize. I do my best. Any good online courses on mathematics for data science and machine learning? So if you're talking about the math, like the actual mathematics behind these sorts of topic, well, of course, the famous one is Andrew's, Coursera course. The other thing I can recommend, if you're looking for the mathy sort of side of things, I've held this up before. Hold on. You know what I haven't done? I haven't given you room cam yet. So here I am. Welcome to the mess that is my studio here in the basement. But it's good you can kind of see the context in which I work here. So the ISL book, so the Introduction to Statistical Learning, does go into a bit more of the math of some of these concepts. And of course it has software as well. Yeah, so if you're gonna look at something like this, you have to be comfortable with mathematical notation, and so you can look at that book. I'm sure if you go to Udemy, of course, there are many courses on Udemy that go into more of the mathematics. There are all kinds of resources. If you really want to understand the mathematics, of course, the mathematics of these topics involve two really major things to understand, and probably the most important thing is matrices and linear algebra, and then what's the other? Oh, at least basic calculus. So if we're talking about gradients and other type of things, you're talking about at least derivatives, partial derivatives, stuff like that. So you will want to brush up on that type of mathematics. Okay. Venkatesh, hi. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming back to the live stream. I appreciate it very, very much. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well also. Let's see. Udemy is a lot cheaper in India. My favorite learning resource. Absolutely. Excuse me, my voice is starting to crack a little bit from talking. Let me get a little sip. Ew, that's cold coffee. That's nasty. Water. I should have water anyway. Sorry. Yeah, Udemy is a great resource, of course. Check if you happen to work for a company. Your company might actually subscribe to Udemy Business. So I know Cengage, the company I work for, does have Udemy Business, which is great because I can do data science and stats courses through that Udemy Business partnership we have bought into. So, but if not, yeah, it's a great place to learn. I thought about teaching on there myself, but I need like 52 hours in a day to do all that. I just don't have time. All right. Great advice. Good. You are very welcome. You are very welcome, Balaji. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Speaking of names, yes, I pronounce it very correct. Yep. Yogendra. G as in jug. Of course, the J could be Yogendra, but Yogendra. Excellent. All right. I'm glad I got it right. The normal distribution versus t-distribution. Which statistical model is better for real life applications. Remember that the student's t-distribution is just a sort of version of the normal distribution or the z-distribution that is appropriate for small sample sizes. So it's not really which one is better for real-life applications. It's really which one is better for the amount of data that you are working with. So, the t-distribution takes into account the number of observations that you have. And of course, like for intervals and so on and so forth, if you have a small sample size, your intervals are going to be wider. But the important thing to keep in mind is that the student's t-distribution and the z or normal distribution converge once the sample size reaches a certain point. So once you get up to around, the people say 30, n equals 30, they're basically identical. But obviously, as you get above 30 and closer to like 50 to 100 observations, if you look at the shape of the normal distribution or the z distribution and a t or the student t distribution with 100 observations, they look the same. So the t distribution is really used for smaller sample sizes. But I will say, on that note, the great thing about statistics and why it was originally sort of invented per se is, of course, back when it was invented, we didn't have all the data collection techniques and electronic techniques we have now. People were like collecting data by hand on observation. So they needed a way to do analysis with smaller sample sizes, and the t-distribution allows us to do that. I think, I could be wrong, I think the t-distribution was invented to help make beer, but I could be crossing that up with something else. I think it actually came from making beer, which I'm a fan of, for smaller sample sizes. Okay. All right. I recently started learning statistics. I was having troubles with fast-paced teachings from my teachers. I came across your channel, and it really helped me a lot. Excellent. Well, that's the great thing about YouTube. You can pause and rewind and come back to it whenever you want. And of course, I do have the PDFs you can buy. They're not expensive. They're about the price of a Udemy course for certain playlists. For the four most popular playlists have the PDF that you can buy, help support the channel, and you have a PDF you can take notes in, and it has transcripts in it, and images of the slides are in it. So if you want to help support the channel and yourself, you can go to my website and buy the PDFs, and you can have that for study reference. And it's the same price as a whole Udemy course, But some of them are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages long. The PDFs I sell on my website. Which I just want to show somebody. In case. While I'm here, I'm going to pull this up just real fast. I will get back to the questions here. Yeah, so I'll pull this up. All right. So if you go to my little website here, there's a whole lot here. Just a little table of contents I need to update this actually because I have new playlists now. But if you go to this and make this a bit bigger. There we go. Go to my website here. That's kind of all my playlists, like a table of contents. But if you're looking for slides up here on the right, so these four are what I have PDFs for. So like, for example, if I go to the regression page. So here, I call it the video companion. It's a PDF that has all these in it. All these in it. So this entire playlist in here has slides, looks like this. So you'll have the slide image, you have the actual link to the video, including to that time code that slide is at. Okay. This is for every video in the playlist. There's like 14 videos in this playlist. So you have each individual slide, the link to it, the point in the video that will take you to this very slide, and you have the entire transcript. And for this entire playlist, like regression, it's $20. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages. So those are things you can you can buy to help support your learning and the channel, and you have your own copy, right? So that's something you can take a look at. All right, back to me here. Any good book on business interpretation of machine learning outputs and performance evaluation metrics? So I have come across, I do have several over in my bookshelf over here. If you're looking for specific type machine learning type things, yeah, some of the books that talk about the business applications on this are admittedly a bit wanting. Everyone focuses on the software, the coding, and the algorithms and stuff like that, but not necessarily on the application of them in a real business context, which is not all that uncommon. You might look at a business analytics book. So obviously, we published one, the one I work on. So this is the book I work on at work. One of the books I work on at work is business analytics. So like what a book like this does is really puts it in the context of business. It's not like a book on machine learning per se, but it obviously talks about regression models, classification models, and the business context in which they are learned. Something like this might be a better fit if you're looking for really understanding the business context of how these are applied day to day. So I might look into that. All right. We're almost at an hour. Please continue the great work. I will. So if anyone knows how to make 36 or 40-hour days, let me know. Yeah, so it's just hard. Yeah, I'll put this in the chat as well. It's hard for me to make as much content as I would want just because of time. So that's the link to the companion guides. You'll see the looking for slides. I'll continue. Do I need to learn linear algebra before getting started with machine learning? I would say yes. So you need linear algebra, matrix operations, if you really want to get into the mathematics of just advanced statistics. Like for example, if you look at the math for multiple regression, just regular multiple regression is a bunch of matrix operations. So you will need to learn some basic linear algebra, including matrix operations. So I took a stats course and also trained some ML models. I want to get good at ML and DL, but don't know how to as an animation school. I think that's why you have your thumbnail. So yeah, I think you're getting into the mathematics of machine learning and data science is a whole nother realm. A lot of people, a lot of students, even people like me, while I like math and stuff like that, I'm not really interested in the underlying mathematical operations that go into these models. I'm more interested in kind of how they basically work, when it's appropriate to use one versus another, how to evaluate one versus another, how to maybe optimize one if I decide on one, how to compare them if I run several different types, and then how to interpret the output and then make recommendations or whatever based on the findings. That's where my interest lies. I am personally not all that into the mathematics of these things, unless I really absolutely have to, which is very rare. That's why we have computers now to do it for us. So it just depends on the, this depends on the sort of focus, you want to go as far as going full-blown mathematics or just having a basic understanding of how everything works and how to implement and when not to implement and how to interpret. And of course, how to do a basic write-up from what you have learned, maybe how to do some data preparation depending on which one you're using. But the actual mathematics, that just depends on what you want to do. Okay. Is there an instance where analysis of variance can be used when dependent variable is categorical in nature and independent variables numeric? So there are different types of multivariate techniques. If you are interested, hold on. There it is. if you're interested in that, this is the book I recommend right here. So this is Using Multivariate Statistics, Tabachnik. This is one I've always used in my tutoring and my own learning. I use it as a reference book. But if you're going into different multivariate techniques where the output, like, or continuous first is categorical or dichotomous, then this is the book to reference. I'm pretty sure it can be done, but it's not something I see very often sort of anymore. But remember, in the end, ANOVA and regression are basically very close cousins. So sometimes you can rethink of these ANOVA problems in terms of a regression. So, if you do the output, if you look at the output for regression and ANOVA, part of it's the exact same and they match. So you know that they're related. And I've done videos where I've taken an ANOVA problem, analysis of variance problem, and turned it into a regression problem to show you that they're underneath the hood, very similar, if not almost the same thing at times. So get a version of this used book right here, Using Multivariate Stats, Tabachnik, and then look at the video sort of I did where I was comparing ANOVA with regression. That's sort of what I could say about this. All right. I cried when you said the motivational stuff at the beginning of the linear algebra vid. I was having a really hard time understanding stats. Well, you're very welcome. But I think as an educator, we should understand that, especially when a student comes to YouTube, they're coming to YouTube for a reason. One, the most likely a student needs help. Very few people are on YouTube watching statistics videos just for fun. I mean, some people I'm sure do, but very few do. They're coming to YouTube because they need help with something. And oftentimes the students who come are desperately in need of help, and they're struggling or just emotionally exasperated, and are really just trying to get through. Before you can learn anything, and you cannot learn in that sort of context, you have to like try to calm, get your mind and your body, deep breath, set, and only after you get into that place can you effectively learn. So I'll make sure that every viewer that comes who's really struggling, one, that they're not alone. There are many people like them. I have taught them in person. I have tutored them in person. Of course, I've talked to them online on YouTube and LinkedIn. You're not alone. And if you really want to learn, you have to just calm, deep breath and say, I got this. I'm going to watch this video. If I have to, I'll rewind a few times to make sure I get everything. Maybe take some notes as I watch, and I'll get it. But if you're emotionally frazzled, very little learning is going to happen. So that's why I try to make sure everyone is calm. They don't feel like they're alone. They don't feel hopeless. And then they can begin the learning. So I've done that sort of beginning on the introductory videos. I don't really do them on the more advanced ones I'm doing now, but that's why I do it. And you're welcome. So, all right. How are we doing here? Tren Odd. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I want to personally thank you. You know how much of a foundation you have laid for my education through your educational videos. Well, you, my friend, you are very, very welcome. It's very kind of you to say. And, but the foundation was laid by you. So the foundation to go out and watch the videos and take the time, put in the effort to watch the videos and learn from them, that's all you. People like me can put out videos, but if no one takes the time to go watch them and puts in the effort to go watch them and learn from them, it doesn't matter. So anyone who learns from my channel or other individuals' channel, the real kudos goes to the person who is spending the time to watch, because time is the most valuable resource you have. So I thank you for the comment, of course. But it's really you. You're the person who took the time and was resourceful and went out and found the help you needed. And trust me, in life, I'm I'm getting close to being 50 years old, and one thing I've learned in my 4.5 decades of life is that just making the effort and going out and being resourceful and putting in, the time to learn something is something that a lot of people just won't do. And if you're willing to make that extra effort, you'll be miles ahead over the years. Okay. Do you think Monte Carlo is a sound approach for significance testing of simulated data? Thank you, and sorry about your Bengals. And first of all, I'm very proud of our Bengals here in Cincinnati. They overachieved the entire season, and the fact that they were that close, they had that Super Bowl game won, is a testament to the team. And I think while we're all disappointed here in Cincinnati about the Bengals not winning the Super Bowl, we do know that it's a very, very, very young team. And, we're hoping to have, many good seasons ahead. If it were like a one-off team that was built to win the Super Bowl like the LA Rams were, then maybe we wouldn't feel, as confident. But because it's a young team and we have so many talented players, we're looking forward to a bright future, which kind of, makes it sting a little bit less. So do you think Monte Carlo is a sound approach for significance testing of simulated data? Sure. So simulations, Monte Carlo simulations and stuff like that are used all the time. For example, in this book, let me find it for you. So in this analytics book that I work on, there is an entire chapter on simulation modeling. Hold on. Yeah. So this entire chapter, probably can't see it very well. There we go. This entire chapter is on Monte Carlo. So these sorts of simulation techniques can be very, very valuable as long as you know when to apply them and how to interpret them and sort of some of the limitations they might be. I will say that of all the many topics that I'm interested in, simulation is another one that I'm very interested in. I love the idea of simulation type things in addition to the linear algebra, addition to the time series, and everything else I find interesting. So maybe I hope to do some videos on that someday. So sure, it's a sound approach. It's a proven approach. It's been around for a very, very long time. It's not the only approach per se, but as long as you understand it and understand how to interpret it and what its limitations might be, then sure, it's a sound approach. A lot of things are like that. There's no thing like this is bad. It's just, or this is good. It's just knowing the appropriate application of it, knowing the basics of how it works and how it might lead you astray if you don't take into account some of its limitations and how it's interpreted. Okay. Hello, Samir. It's good to see you. Big fan of your style of teaching. Long back, my brother suggested me for your name for statistics concept. But sadly, I cannot complete all your videos. I have challenged with your playlist as they are not arranged in order. Could you please confirm the same set in order now? So there are two things going on here, Samir. Hopefully I can help. The one thing is that YouTube does not do a very good job of allowing creators to organize their videos and playlists very well. That's one really bad thing about the way it's structured. You can do certain playlists for like a topic. Like I have a playlist for regression, a playlist for hypothesis testing. But ordering the playlist in a certain order is not something YouTube is very good at. So the best thing you can do is if you go to my little website here, what I do is I have all the playlists in order like this, and I need to add the last playlist. I'll do that today. So you can follow these in order. So, how you would kind of do them in a textbook or whatever, and then just go from one to the other to the other. I had to do a page like this on my website because YouTube does not do a good job at something like this that you're seeing on your screen now. YouTube is not good at doing something like that. So just hop over to my website. I'll put it in the chat. And that's the best place. You can use it as like a table of contents. You can use that as a table of contents to follow along topic by topic. And of course, once you get inside a playlist, I have organized the videos inside the playlist in pedagogical sequential order, so they make sense as you watched it from beginning to end. So everything in the playlist makes sense in order. Now, some people don't always agree with my order, but it's the way I have decided to, mentally put it all together. But it all makes sense if you watch it inside of a playlist. So that is the here's the best place you can go find everything in terms of having it organized in a way. Okay, so all right, let's see here. Okay, thanks for clarifying doubts. Have a good weekend. I'm going to try to, even though there's literally snow outside. Makes me so angry. It's going to warm up though. All right. Which book was that? Hi, Audrey. I'll hold up both. So the business analytics book is the one I work on in my day job. One of the ones I work on. So this is the business analytics book. This is the 4th edition. You can find the previous edition or even maybe this one used, somewhere. It's great. The reason I like working on this book is the way they write is very understandable. It's very easy to follow. It's very easy to comprehend what they're saying, and then the applications they use in the business context are always good. Now, of course, they're relatively small. They're for teaching. The examples and data sets are teaching examples and data sets, but it's very easy to understand. And actually, this author here, right there, boop. So Jeff Ullman is who I had dinner with last week when I was in Iowa City. He teaches at University of Iowa, and he and I and my former partner had dinner with him. And he's just great. So that's the one book. And then the multivariate book. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. This is the multivariate book. This is a different publisher. I don't work on this book, but in terms of teaching and as a resource, I've always had copies of this book handy. The previous edition and this edition I've always had available. Because again, it's easy to understand. They use a lot of examples, a lot of, they'll have like write-ups. So for example, if I can find it here. This is why I love this book right here, okay? This entire page right here is how you would write it up. So if you're writing in an assignment for school, or obviously in sort of a journal or dissertation or thesis or something, and you want to write up the results, they actually have a whole page of how to write it up, which is awesome. It's cool, huh? So they have that. They have a lot of software output in here to interpret the formulas for things if you want to have the basic understanding of the formulas. And of course, all kinds of graphs, everything else like that. So I've always liked this book. I was tutoring multivariate stats when I was at Indiana, and the course used this book, and that's how I found it. It's really, really good. So that's a book. That's the book I recommend everyone get a copy of. Hello. Yeah, so Audrey, this is the book with the Monte Carlo methods in it. It's chapter 10 in this book, I think. And I'll give it this way. I like textbooks. I like how books smell. But this is a book you can actually sit and just read. You can just sit and read it. Like pull up a chair, go to a coffee shop or in your, wherever you live, whatever else like that, and just read it. Oh, that's crap. That's spreadsheet models. But the Monte Carlo, here's all the Monte Carlo stuff you can see in here. In each section of this chapter in this book is actually a business case. So risk analysis for Statotronics, which is like a tech company, inventory policy analysis for like an inventory situation, simulation modeling for Landshark, which is about random variables and outputs. So it's all in a business context, which is why this book is the market leader by far. It's a really, really good book, obviously. So, and by the way, even though I work at Cengage, they don't, ask me or compensate me or whatever else to like hold the books up. My YouTube channel is completely separate from what I do at work. That's Engage. So, and if I happen to work somewhere else in the near or sometime future, or work at a different company, I'll still hold these books up because they're that good. All right. Okay, here. Learned a lot through your lectures. Swapping the null and alternative hypothesis assumptions changes the results. For example, the null, the mean is greater than the expected mean, or the mean is less than the expected mean. Well, look, it depends on your question. So, and the way you have worded these here are one-tailed tests. So, the assumptions for the hypothesis test wouldn't change, but the direction of the test would change. I'll give you a quick example. So, if let's say I go up into my kitchen and I have a little packet of cereal, let's just say that. And it says on that box that cereal has 4 ounces in it. Now, let's say I wanted to see if that is true or not. Is there actually 4 ounces of cereal in there? So what I could do is in the whole pack, there's like several boxes of cereal in there. They're all 4 ounces. I could weigh the cereal each time before I put milk in it or eat it or whatever to see if there's actually 4 ounces. I could arrange it 3 ways. I could set my hypothesis test that it's equal to 4 ounces. I could set my hypothesis that it's less than 4 ounces or greater than 4 ounces. So there's no difference in the assumptions in either one of those except your assumption about the natural state of reality. So if you think the cereal company is selling you short, and you think that there's less than 4 ounces of cereal in each of those boxes, then you could set up your hypothesis based on that assumption, based on your perceived state of reality. Or you could do the opposite. You could say, man, there's a lot of stuff in these boxes. I think they're giving me more than 4 ounces. You could set it up that way. Or you could just kind of split the difference and just make it a 2-tailed test and say that my hypothesis is that the cereal is 4 ounces, but I'm keeping in mind it could be greater than 4 ounces or less than 4 ounces, so it's not equal to 4 ounces. So there's no assumption difference other than your assumption of reality. The actual hypothesis test is the same. It's just the direction and your interpretation of the test depending on how you set it up. So I hope that makes sense. That was a little longer statistics thing I wanted to talk about, but yeah. Alrighty. Andreas, I just wanted to say I really appreciate what you do. You're terrific, and I love your videos and teaching methods. Great job. Well, thank you, Andreas. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's great to have you as part of our little community here on YouTube and on the live stream, and maybe on LinkedIn if you're there. And whatever I'm able to do for you, you do for me 10 times over. So thank you for, watching on the channel and supporting it. And I'm glad I can help you along your journey, whatever it might be, Andreas. Okay. Pax, hello. It's good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, got it. Thanks. Sorry if that was a bit convoluted explanation about hypothesis testing. It's something that a lot of people learning statistics do get confused on, but I will say when it comes to hypothesis testing, we actually think that way. Like if I have, bottles of water and it says it's 16 ounces, my assumed state of reality is that there's, 16 ounces in each bottled water. That may or may not be true. But using hypothesis testing, I can quantitatively test that. I can test that. So that's how we use hypothesis tests. All right. Best videos, got to say, well, if they're good for you, that's all that matters. It's every YouTuber, is not everyone's cup of tea. So I try to do things for as many people as I think will benefit, and hopefully, people will learn from the channel, and that's why I do it. Not everyone likes the way I do things. That's completely fine. If you find someone else that does it better, that's completely fine. Just find the person who teaches you and works with you in the way you need, and that's what we should all do. There's no, unless they're like telling you wrong things or something like that, then there's no real harm in it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this stream here in a second. I do want to reiterate the fundraiser that is on this channel. So one of my favorite YouTubers is Anton Petrov. Unfortunately, him and his wife lost their infant son. You can see the video there in the middle. And a few days ago to sudden infant death syndrome, which is awful because, it's awful as it is, but Anton is one of my favorite YouTubers. He's so nice and kind. I'm wearing his shirt now. That's his shirt for his YouTube channel. The fundraiser, on his recent videos, you can see the fundraiser icons down there right here. And on this stream, the fundraiser is for the children of Ukraine. It's a Save the Children fundraiser that's being done in the honor of his infant son who recently passed. So if you, subscribe to his channel if you like space and science and stuff like that, because he's awesome. But also, if you have a few dollars to help out the humanitarian crisis, especially the children humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, please consider donating a few dollars or whatever. I donated myself, so consider doing that, and you'll see that on the side of the video or wherever else on YouTube, on his channel or my channel. It's the same fundraiser. You can do it either place. Consider doing that. And of course, I would be remiss saying that I didn't say, obviously we talk about stats and data science and machine learning and stuff like that, and just learning in general on this channel. But we're also my channel, and me personally is someone who's dedicated to peace, who is dedicated to education, who is dedicated to trying to love one another and get along with each other. And what's happening in Ukraine is just an awful war crime tragedy. So that's just keep those individuals in our thoughts, right now, because those are people there too that are trying to learn. They're students just like everyone else, and but they're also human beings, which is the most important thing. So let's keep everyone in our thoughts. And thank you so much for coming by the live stream today. It went an hour and a half with a great audience the whole time, which was incredible. I'll be back again in 2 weeks. So that will be March 26th. So we'll be live again on March 26th, and we're going to continue the conversation where we left off here. So in honor of Anton, I just wanted to say thank you for coming by, all you wonderful people. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Take care, and